Hello.
Today we will be talking about John 3:16. You guys can turn to that scripture. Does anybody want to read? Okay.
I'll read it.
Okay.
You want John 3:16, right?
Yes. John 3:16.
God, so love the world. Read.
Can you speak up a little bit that way everyone can hear you?
Oh, okay. All right. John 3:16. I knew I was just saying about heart. Okay. John 3:16. It said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life."
Okay. So today we're going to analyze this scripture, John 3:16. So in the beginning it says, "For God so loved the world." First of all, we're going to talk about God and who God is. So who is God? Anybody?
Alpha, Omega, beginning, end, King of Kings, Jesus Daddy, big fella.
Alpha and Omega, the Ancient of Days, that's who God is. And as we go along, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." God loved the world, and as you know, during the time, the world was slowly coming to not being with the Lord. They were committing sins, they were not doing things that they were supposed to do, and they were straying away from God. So kind of like right now, but without internet and stuff. It's kind of how it is. But they were straying away from him. And God needed somebody to come that way he could get his people back to him. Now, he couldn't have destroyed the world again because he could have done that if he wanted to, but he promised in the time of Noah that he wouldn't do that again, that he wouldn't flood the world again, that he wouldn't destroy it. So he needed someone that would come to save the world and bring them back to him. He couldn't choose anybody on earth because there was no one who was perfect enough for it. So he chose his only Son, which was Jesus. So he gave his only begotten Son. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. He loved the world so much that way he loved the world so much for this purpose. And could you think about giving your only Son to come down and save people? Like, let me use an example. Let's say that there's a war going on, and you got to send your son to go, your only son, not any other son. You don't have any other sons. You got to send them to war. That way, they can save people. How would you feel about doing something like that?
You can't send your only son to war.
What do you mean?
You can't. If you only have one son, you can't go to war.
In America.
Yeah, America.
What about in other places?
But
If you volunteer, I think he can go.
What I mean is that it would be hard to send someone that you love, someone that you care about, to go and do something that will possibly end in them not returning home. They would probably die.
that statement piggyback off of what you were saying, because they're telling you, like in America, if that's my only son, I don't love nobody enough to give up my only son. You know, that's why they say, you know, if you only have one son, he can't go to war.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. So, in other words, God loved the world so much, he loved his people so much that he gave his only begotten Son to come and save us. So when it comes to love, I'm going to piggyback on that. When it comes to love is not really what we say, it is what we do. A person can tell you that they love you and that they care about you, but that's only words. There has to be, if you really love someone, there has to be like action upon it.
Go ahead, girl.
There has to be action upon it, and not just what you are saying. And God didn't just say that he would do it. He actually sent his only son to come and save us. And as we go along through here, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." Now, in return of giving his only Son, his people came back to him. In the beginning, they did not really, because some of them left, some of them didn't believe in him. Even when Jesus first came, they were saying that he is not real, that he's not the Messiah, and they were removing him. They didn't want him to be there. And then there were a few who saw and said, "I believe that this is actually the person who has come to save us all." So in return for giving, God actually received, because he got his people back and he saved the world and cleansed their sins. And when you give a gift, usually you receive back. You receive a blessing. That's what God said, that you give and you shall receive. If you give a gift, you receive back, like, and not just in gift terms. I'm using another example. If you want to work out, that way you can lose weight. You have to put in something. The gift is your time, or what you have to sacrifice to go to the gym. And in return, what you get is you lose the weight and you get your abs, or whatever you want to have. Or like a project. You have a project for school. You have to give time and effort to the project to get the project finished. And in return for giving that, you get your good grade and you get satisfaction for finishing the project. And for the end of this, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." And that is all for me.
Amen.